right, guys, good evening. Bruce here with Targeted Wealth Creation. I'm going to start with GDXY and GDX. Well, as I had said before, and one of the problems the fund managers have with this is it's a low IV. So when they write a call, they get very low premium, 30% IV type. And that's indicative of where it's been, the old, looking in the rearview mirror. The options market's not going to reprice it until it proves. Well, it's in the process of proving it. So I've been saying for some time, if you ask me from an income fund standpoint, it's the place to be in the ensuing years. That doesn't mean it's going to perform fabulous this second, but this is the liftoff I've been referring to. Now, again, it could well peak next week. Could be GDX 42, 46. It may run on for 3 or 4 or 5 more weeks. But that kind of magnitude is coming. And then we'll see in September, because I have a feeling we may get market retracement in September. All I know is that September is showing up as a very volatile month and anything can happen. We had a little mini panic cycle on some of my cycle forecast people, and we all know what happened over the weekend. So that kind of reflected itself. BTC is sort of taking off again. That seems to have gotten mojo. The miners were already getting mojo. Now they're getting that mojo. So where I was going with this is a classic where when you're in an income fund, you're not really participating in the upside. So while I'm talking about YIELDMAX, I tell YIELDMAX people, well, what can I own over the next 2 or 3 years that should do well? Well, clearly GDX should do well. However, I want to point out something to everybody, and I'm not trying to forecast or tell you that a big market correction is going to happen, but honestly, it could happen at any time. It could happen in a week, it could happen in 3 months. Most probably, we will get some kind of a bigger correction, 15, 20%, certainly within the next 6 months. Anybody who think it's just, go, 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 up, 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 is not dealing with reality. All even impulse waves retrace. So I'm not going to here to tell you about where I see everything. You're not paying me for that kind of advice. You're just watching my channel, trying to figure out on your incomes. And some of you are pretty sharp and some of you are wanting to be active, and you're figuring out that many times it's better to own the underlying. So I'm just trying to educate you along the process. Those that just want to collect your income, more power to you. This will be a good income source. However, final statement, and then I'm going to move into the GDX here. If we have a sell off, all things stocks will go down. So it's not like GDX is going to be a magic bullet and you're not going to go down. Now, if you buy a complete inverse fund or you buy insurance on protecting yourself in a bear market and things that will go up when these averages and index go down, that's a different story. But generally, anything just equity is going to suffer because you get margin calls and everything unravels. And that's not to say that that doesn't fix itself over time and go back up. But when I talk about what might be good for multiple years, I believe in the commodity cycle, right? I think there's too much debt. There's something to come home to roost to that eventually here. And I see precious metals, I see Bitcoin, I see a few select areas that should radically outperform over multiple years. There'll be some individual AI oriented stocks that probably do very well, but I'm not super bullish on the NASDAQ for the next 5 years saying it's going to triple and quadruple and all that. No way, in my opinion. Okay, again, it's my opinion. So I'm not afraid to tell you that. If you want to unsubscribe, unsubscribe. I see that whenever I talk about the markets, and that's okay with me. But I'm here to help you with yield max and income funds and in general. And if I want to do something else, I'll create a separate channel and go there. So let's just talk about GDX and what the problem is. You're having the exact same problem in BTC now, if not magnified, because coin, BitO, and MSTR are all running with crypto. Guess what's not really running with those? Misty, Coney, and YBit. Why? Because they're massively capped. These funds have a script, right? They write calls out on a weekly basis. And like I said, sometimes that's a boat anchor, right? You're trying to run full speed in your boat and you realize you didn't pull the anchor in, right? You're dragging it through the water, so it's slowing you way down. And in big impulse waves, that's exactly what happens, right? Doesn't mean you won't get some income. You will. So let's get into GDXY. So GDX went up 3.5. Now we went up 2.15. They've written a good 37 in place for their synthetic, but again, they're getting kills. Killed. What did I say yesterday? I said, maybe we'll get lucky and it won't go past 39, but it could very well do that today. Well, what did it do? It did that, right? And next week looks even bigger based on how this week unfolds because I was wrong about Newmont. It doesn't report till next week. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I talked about on 712 that I own. And every one of them, with one exception by a penny, is up. It's so predictable, right? So it's just a case of saying when there's times to own the underlying and there's times to own an income fund. And if all you want is income, I get it. Look, some of you go to work every day and work hard for your money. You want to throw it in and you want to get yield. And GDX over multiple years should be a good yielding fund for you. I think much safer than many of the higher payers today. We shall see. But I want to explain to you why it's not particularly doing well right now. The fund is doing well. It's getting back close to its 20. But if you were investing in Nugget or AEM or Newmont, I mean, Newmont reports next week. As I mentioned, those options I have are up 6x and will probably by next week be up 10x, right? I did take a third off the table, even though they have a lot more room to run, because that got me back more than I invested altogether and many times. So now I'm writing free money on a call option. And remember, a call option, I only have till September. I think this all happens in July and could well spread to the second week of August, this up move in the precious metals miners. And the miners are actually starting to lead the metal, but I'm seeing 25, 26, probably 2,700 in gold and a few more weeks or a month. And then it may be a near term top. We may retrace. So, like I said, September looks to be an interesting month for everything out there. So, don't forget I said that. All right. So, having given that, there was some buying in the fund, one of the few funds, and they added 50,000 shares. So, what did they do? Well, they went out. I could drag it over, but I don't. Actually, I will, but most of you don't really care. Um, but just so you can see it. So here's GDX on their 37 synthetic. They bought 220 contracts. They're in the money, so they pay more for the call than they can sell the put for. That's okay because every time we rise, we participate fully in the rise. It's just that boat anchor is still dragging out there, right? When you own the underlying, you have no boat anchor. If all they had was synthetics, they would be roaring. But guess what? They wouldn't have any income to pay you. right? So that's the difference. We all know, and you've heard these dissertations and ramblings on people and, growth versus income. And I get it. Some of you just need income and you want a home, and this will get you some income. Is it going to get you the highest yield right now? No. And the way the fund managers are kind of playing it, it's going to be lukewarm. But over time, this IV will get much, much higher when people figure out that this is an area that's going to continue this kind of mode. But again, if we get a market correction, all things stocks go down. The precious metals themselves, not so much. So I'll talk about that a different time. All right. So we bought and sold, bought calls, sold puts, right? We had a matching. We went out to 40 this month. Do I think we overrun that? Maybe not this week. We could go to 40 tomorrow or 41 tomorrow or 42 this week, but maybe we'll pull back going into earnings in anticipation of what's going to actually happen. But as soon as a few of these miners start reporting, it pretty much is over. We'll probably see 46 on this. Again, it could be buy the rumor, sell the news. Let's see. I don't think so. Okay. So that's my ramblings. So let's go take a look. All right. So they put this on, and see what I mean though by about paltry money. The IV is so low that when they write this, they get 21 cents, right? I mean, I'll take it. YBIT doesn't always get a lot of BITO either in that mode, even though that IV is higher. So we get a little bit of cash flow on that. I'll take some more than none, right? It's not like we're not getting some. Um, but 4,620 for our credit on 220 contracts at 21 cents at 40. At least it's out of the money. I'd love to see us go up to 41, 42, pull back, and we collect all the income. But as it stands right now, we've already run by our 38. We've already run by our 39. So everything we're doing in the synthetic of collecting money is being challenged and lost by these placements. And I understand, I'm not really right now blaming the fund manager because there's no income to be drawn out with these low IVs. And all that's saying is you're better off being in the underlying. So I'm 90-10. I'm 90% in the underlying and 10% in GDXY. I just find it personally when I recommend a fund, if I don't own it, that's crazy. Why would I personally don't care to report on it if I don't own it or I don't think it's of good value. So that's just me personally. I understand other YouTubers do it differently, and that's okay. We're all different people. Okay, so let's look here at the weekly. So I added, and actually I downloaded the chart and had it all ready and didn't replace it. So know that I'll have that replaced because we're up here, guys. I mean, this was such a flagpole resistance breakout, hang around a little bit and then run. Okay, there'll be a topping process. I don't know if it's 42, 43, 46, and we could get a 20% retracement. But here they are, 38s, 39. They're trying them all, right? Part of their problem is it's not like they can go right a 44 and go out there 12% because they'll get 2 cents. But they're probably better off with that method than letting that boat anchor just slow this racing boat down. All right, so let's go out and look at holding. So here's the good news, bad news, right? Look at our synthetic. It's kicking butt, right? Doing very well. Last 4 days, synthetic value, right? You could draw a line chart on that. So we're collecting money there. But look down here. We collected 84.60. We have to buy it back at 33,000. We collected 90. We have to buy it back at 148. This one we just put on here for 21 cents. So the fact it's 24 today is no biggie. It's a 40. And maybe we'll get that one right, but the bulk one, I don't know. The way things are going right now, I don't really see 39 lasting. I think it would need to be 41 or 42. So therefore, we don't make nearly as much when we run way by these, but I'm not blaming the fund managers in this. They're dealing with what they have to deal with because they can't turn into a growth fund and do things that doesn't fit the prospectus, right? So I'm just saying on these impulse moves, there's times to own the underlying and there's times in a way bigger majority, not only the underlying, but maybe a 2x. So let's jump into that for a minute. If you guys, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you don't want to hear what I own and what's going on, let me wrap up and then I'll do it for the people that care. Because that's not fair to you, okay, if you don't care. Here's the payout situation, okay? We are losing money this month because they're getting capped massively. Back here, basically GDX was boring, right? It had already done its flagpole run up and it was just vacillating back and forth, treading water. So in a slightly up, a muddling, treading water, and a slightly down, you're collecting income. So any income is great. You're not getting capped, you're not getting outrun. But as soon as that impulse wave starts that I've been telling you was coming, okay, then we get capped and run over. So right now we got an 87-cent loss. But let me share with you, we're setting on 731,000. When, right? In our synthetic. What does that translate to? Well, that translate at 550,000 shares to $1.33. So technically we got that win, but guess what? This is assuming we won all our weeklies. We're not winning our weeklies. So we don't have much income. Are they going to pay us something? Sure, they'll find a way to pay you 30 or 40 cents, but unless they can participate in these runs, and it's true of all of them. Look, I mean, Misty's been good and Coney, but look at YBit. That's a classic. Right now is the time that you want YBit to really, really fly. But guess what? Bitto's doing all the flying because it doesn't, it's not an income fund per se. It's CME futures based on BTC. Yeah, it pays a dividend, so it gets knocked down. Okay, and you have to add that dividend back if you want to compare how it's doing against BTC. So I always say, are you bullish on the underlying and understand what you own? So these impulse waves when everything runs up. I mean, the good news is, what are we at? 1930 something. So if you were by 1945, if you snag this down at 18, I don't even know what the low is. It looks like 18s, 1828. I'm looking back. I'm sure it may have been. Yeah, that looks like the neighborhood. Um, but you're not getting, and I get it, it's back to that boring stuff. So that's the situation. You're going to earn money here, but unless they get this down, and maybe after this week, if it runs to 41 or 42, that they get positioned better, maybe the IV goes up enough that they get more and they ride a 45 or 46 for next week. At some point, this will burn itself out. Nothing goes straight up. Look at NVIDIA right now, or NVIDIA. It's classic. That thing has run so hot so far. Do I think it could go higher still? Yes. But it also could visit 110 or 100. It wouldn't surprise me. And I guarantee you, if the market were to pull back 15, 18, 20% on the indexes, it would go there real fast, along with everything that's a stock, right? Because the margin calls. I mean, you can't just the old saying, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. I mean, there's only so much, and that's what everybody's up against. Although volatility, if we do get some retrenchment, is going to create volatility in these funds, and they can make money. Okay, guys. So if I'm going to go talk about what I own and what I see, and anybody else, thank you for listening to the general GDX update. So I'm going to go into that for 5 minutes and then wrap up. Okay. So remember, this is what I posted on the 12th. Well, I could show you my Newmont options, right? but I hate showing you something that's had such a massive return on something I put on. But I wasn't even dare thinking of sharing with you options that I go out and buy that are risky and get some income guy or girl or whoever try something and they don't really know what they're doing. But this is where I want to evolve to where I create something of follow me or we go into specifics because I see a multi-year opportunity in the commodities and precious metals to play this. So what's Newmont done? Now this is 2 trading days, right? This is Friday. This is the end of Tuesday. So up. This is the one Skeena, but it's a small, I see a lot of upside here. I don't even worry about day to day. This is also the same. If this went to 160, I would just buy more. That's what I bought it at, 160, 161. I told you guys, I think on platinum groups, it's because platinum is still lagging gold. Once platinum decides to run, it's got so much room to make up, just like silver. Silver at 31, maybe next week it goes to 35 or it goes to 36. And it'll probably pull back again, but at some point in the next year, very likely we're 80 to $100 in silver. And these miners will be 6 and 8x up from where they are. So, I mean, there's just such an opportunity there because it's such an undervalued, and silver has a serious functional use in society and solar panels and electronics. Its ability to be a conductor of electricity is one of the best, period. Copper fits some of it in the electric car side, but silver is used in so many other industries. So, these stocks, every one of them, with the exception of this one, is up. And look at these silver plates. It's just so predictable. And silver hasn't even started the run that it will have. So, I didn't even put a price in here on AGQ. I hate it because it issues the K1. And to me, they make your taxes that much more of a hassle whenever you have K1s. But that is a good vehicle for moving on pure physical silver prices because you got to remember the miners are typically 2x to 4x, and that's your big conservative miners. Your small guys, you can get a bust again. You can have an explorer that has massive problems or something. But some of those things, if you get 2 and 4x, those can be 5 to 20 times your return. And then some of your little tiny explorers can 100x. But guess what? Maybe 7 out of 10 go nowhere. So I kind of stopped playing that. I like the bigger and the mid caps where I can utilize options because I don't want to just throw all my capital in the share, just like with Newmont. It was totally an option play. I had spreads on, I had just long calls. Um, so look at these. You had a four. Here's your leveraged ones, right? Oh, you know what? I didn't. Sorry, this is a mistake here. I thought that was JDX, and I forgot that there is a 3X. Those are rare. I actually thought the US had stopped those. Look at this. So this is 50.79 on GDXU. I can't tell, but it looks like it was around 45. Let me see if I can plug that into one of my. Yeah, I'm just going to guess and put for somebody that wants to look up what the price is on 12. It's easy to see the chart for one day, but I can't really read. So this is a triple guy, right? I mean, looking at this right now, this is probably something, if there are options on it, I might play those because I hate throwing $50 or at a stock. It just sucks up your capital when you can do options on it. But I don't know if the triple guy has options. I'll check it all out for you. Okay, guys, that's what I got. Hopefully this helps. I know by some of your comments, some of you active guys, one of my guys said, "Hey, I just got out of GDXJ." right? So if you get in and get a big pop, but to me, a big pop is 15 or 20% minimum. I don't typically go in the multi X for, 1 day and up 5%. You certainly could, all right, guys, that's what I got. Sorry to run long on this and give you, my education and my rants, but sometimes I just think it's relevant. Okay, guys, again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Hope it was fun and entertaining. See you guys. Bye.